Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
This is City Councilman Kaz Kwiatkowski, and I'm alone today, so I'll need a lot of help from you callers. I know we were off for 1 week, but we had some business we had to attend to, and the number is listed on the screen, and the rules are very simple. You can talk about any subject you want. Any question is fair game. Just keep it in the bounds of good taste and try not to get personal with anybody, and anything you want to talk about is okay. And number there on the screen, 870-1284. And while we were away, I don't know much what happened in Erie. I'm trying to catch up with the news. But I know as I left, there was some discussion on the tax-exempt status of certain, I think it was the one hospital, St. Vincent was trying to get their rate lowered a little bit. Their assessed value, which in the long term will affect, and council was unfortunately forced to accept the agreement that was made. So the one thing I did learn while I was away is that while the problem is big in Erie, it's not isolated to just us. We were at the Pennsylvania Municipal League Conference, and it was the more people we talked to, the more council people, the more mayors and different various elected officials, the more you see that the problem is the same across the whole state. We do need reform. And, you know, there are some bills that they're debating on changing those rules, and also, you know, how we tax, whether it's strictly on property or whether we put some income and sales tax to offset some of the property taxes. And I think long term, if we were to somehow try to eliminate a majority of property taxes, and if we were successful enough to shift it to income and sales tax based, that would help the seniors quite a bit, because a lot of the seniors at their stage in life are not generating income or doing a heck of a lot of purchasing, so the taxes would actually ease up on a little bit. It wouldn't. The fact that they have tried to improve their homes or stay in their homes would be of value to all of us, instead of having them leave their homes because they can't afford the taxes. When you're younger and you're working, the sales and income tax is probably a better generator, because you're in a position where hopefully you know, you're buying things and your income level is such that you can pay the taxes a lot easier than an elderly. And even the fact that your home taxes hopefully would go down a little bit, it causes people to not think twice about improving their property as much, and where the effect is not entirely based on your home. And those would be many issues, and I know they're talking about whether the courts or the legislators should decide what is tax exempt. I think today, you know, tax exempt has a strange connotation. You know, nonprofit. What they're really not nonprofit. The term more or less means that they put their profits, whatever they are, back into the business. They reinvest in more equipment, more staff. So they are making money, but to be fair to everybody, with the number of nonprofits that exist now, we need to have some kind of reform. We can no longer go on with the way we are. I mean, if they would pay at least a portion of the public safety or the roads or something like that, it would go a long way to helping us. But until there's legislation on the state level, it's very unlikely that's going to happen. And another thing, while we were at the conference, I took in we listened in on the seminar that covered the relationship between the colleges and the municipalities. And I know in Erie, where we now have three colleges, or three, you know, including the medical school, that have an effect on our neighborhoods now, both positive and negative. And it's very important that we set up dialogue with the colleges, but also we have to have an understanding that, where the colleges are in a residential neighborhood, they need to abide by the rules that everybody does. We're not turning it into Animal House, and, their growth should not be at our expense. That there is positive things that come out of universities, colleges, and medical schools, but there are also some negatives. And listening to the dialogue down there, plus many of the people that took part in that, it's fair to say that there are problems, various problems all over the place. And just doesn't seem like some towns have attacked it successfully. I think here in Erie, we still got some work to do, and while we welcome universities and colleges, as their footprint increases and property becomes tax exempt and their students spread out into the neighborhoods, sometimes that has a negative effect on the city as a whole. So we need to be very, very concerned about that. And I know a hot topic is public safety, and while we were down there, we noticed that there was a lot of the blue lights that they call them blue lights. They're up on the telephone poles. They're security cameras. And I know from past experience, I've seen them in large cities like Chicago, and some of the smaller ones like Lancaster and Allentown had them recently. And just talking to some of the police officers about how effective they are, the cameras are to such a level that they can be turned and manipulated in such a way to get various angles. The better ones are fully colorized in the daytime, not black and white. They come with night vision and various other forms. As a tool, though, to a man, that the officers that I talked to all said, it's an amazing tool because when they come upon a scene, the cameras can be activated by the officer so that they can have somebody interpret back at the complex where the cameras are stored. They can actually have the camera activated in that area, check the tape and see what has happened in that area. Many times it leads to apprehension of the criminals, or can set the scene for other things that are going on in that area. And I think that's something here we're trying to do with the installation of the new cameras in businesses. But I think more and more large amounts of cities are also putting in their own independent system, which I think, if we can get some grant money and may take an investment on our own, which is why I'd like to see the nonprofits have to contribute to a public safety fund that could take care of things like this, where cameras can be installed, police officers can be hired, more equipment that we need, at less burden on the everyday taxpayers. And it was very evident that these security camera blue lights, as the police called them, do have a positive effect on neighborhoods where they're installed. And I think that's something Erie has to look at, and hopefully as we progress down the line we can do that. And once again, a reminder that you can call in at 870-1284 if you have any comments. Feel free. I know we were off a week and probably a lot of people aren't sure if we're back yet, but we are. And also, once again, the old topic on the airport. Last time I attended the meeting of the Airport Authority. Positive things are happening, and I know they're in negotiation with other airlines, and some people are... There we go. Go ahead, caller.
Good afternoon, Kaz.
Good afternoon. I'm glad somebody called. I was getting bored here.
I can't believe what I heard 2 weeks ago. A guy called in, and he was saying that we need a traffic signal at Burton and Pine Avenue.
Yeah, but I also got another request for one at I'm trying to think. I think it's Lake Pleasant, too.
Well, why do we need more traffic signals when we're missing 34,000 citizens?
Yeah. Well, I think he had when I looked at it, and I told him I didn't think that's a state highway, number 1, okay? Are you familiar with that, sir?
Oh, I go by that intersection at least 10 times a week.
Yeah, no, it's a little crazy at times. I'll agree to that. But if there's a stop sign there.
Well, if he's that afraid of getting on Pine Avenue, all he has to do is cut through to Dairy Cream, cut through to Kmart property, go on to East Grandview, and use that traffic signal.
Well, I told him, I said that there is a light at Grandview, so I don't think the state is going to allow us to put another one there, and especially if there was one bad intersection, even worse, it would be Lake Pleasant. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
There's been numerous accidents there, but people tend to speed between 38th up to Grandview.
Well, I'd like to know where these speeders are. I would like to get behind them. Then maybe I would make my doctor appointments on time and get to church on time.
Oh, well, you have to catch them at the right time. It's crazy. When you're in a hurry, it seems like you're always behind the slow ones.
Oh, I always get stuck behind these drivers that go 15 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour speed zone. Yeah,
that's true. And then again, sometimes on 38th Street, you get blown off the road, but...
Well, you can tell who's late for work in the morning and who's not.
Yeah, I was surprised. They're talking, one of the pieces of legislation that's out there, they're talking about allowing local police to have radar guns now.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that.
No, I mean, but right now they have to use other devices. But no, when I looked at that problem, and while it is coming up Burton, if you stop at the sign, it is a little busy because you got to stop. What the problem is, you got a light only about a block away.
Yeah.
So if you can time it right, you can come out okay. Or like you say, you can go through the. I'm trying to think what road that is. It goes behind. It goes alongside the old Kmart. Between there and that dentist office.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to call in about. But another thing is, politicians seem to be getting nervous because we've dropped below 100,000 in population, and they're afraid we're not going to get our fair share of tax money from Harrisburg. Well, I think Joe Sinnott, as part of his legacy, he could have had a nice thing to do, get all the local officials from the 6 municipalities surrounding the city of Erie, and I know they have to go through Harrisburg, but let's get the merger going. I'm familiar with Jacksonville, Florida. People don't realize this. You go to the northwest corner of Jacksonville where their airport is.
Right.
Start going down to the lowest southeast beach in Jacksonville, and it's a total of 64 miles, and you're still in the city of Jacksonville.
And that's why they got an NFL football team.
That's one reason, right?
Well, Toronto's what I noticed when I was traveling a lot, Toronto is metropolitan. New York is really metropolitan. The city of New York, when you think about it, there's 5 boroughs.
Indianapolis, too, and you never hear of any problems with these big cities.
How about Nashville? Nashville's got a metro, fire, and police.
Okay, I didn't know that. But
yeah, a lot of them, what they do is, we have to look at this in Pennsylvania about, and I know the big bugaboo will be schools. That's what everybody's concerned about. But on issues like fire and police, there's no reason, why you can't have a county department or a metro department.
Well, I get tired of hearing Brennan and some of these other city officials say, well, let's get a cooperative agreement going with these local municipalities. Well, let's do more than cooperate with them. Let's merge with them and get that big yellow dot there in northwestern Pennsylvania on the map, and then we'd get plenty of attention between Cleveland and Buffalo and Pittsburgh.
Do you realize that, I just came back from Allentown. That's where my son lives, but we had the municipal league convention down there, and it's amazing. Now they're not like what you're talking about, but the cooperation level between the communities down there was amazing. The city of Bethlehem and the city of Allentown got together, and instead of fighting each other, they decided that there were 2 casino groups coming into that area, and only one was going to win. So they said, well, whoever wins, the other community will get this much, and the winner will get this much. And I think it's stretched along the whole Lehigh Valley, a little bit.
Yeah.
And here in Erie, we get zilch out of that one up there in Summit. We're the biggest city, we get nothing, not a dime, except what the little committee might give us for fireworks or something. And I agree with you. Here's the city suffering, and I'm saying it's not, some of it's our fault, a lot of it, but we need to cooperate. Think if Erie and Mill Creek were joined at the hip, you'd have a town of almost 60,000.
Yeah, you'd have 150,000, if not more, easily.
Yeah, and there's your third largest city again.
The officials in the area, we know that the youngest Mill Creek supervisor is the one that doesn't want a merger. He's going for a nice big pension, so I won't even mention his name. You can figure out who that is.
Hey, I'd be willing. You know what? If they talk merger, I'd be willing to give up my seat and have to run again, whatever form of government we took. The long-range health, we can't have these little communities no more because, you look at every town, every city suffering. You got a couple suburbs that are doing good, but, the regions are in terrible shape.
Well, I won't go back to Tullio, but if Joyce or even Joe Sinnott, when he first got in as mayor, if they would have just got together, go down to Harrisburg, have meetings, whatever, and get the merger starting, the talks starting, and by now we should have had one big, larger city of Erie, but of course they're all stalling, so that's not going to happen for a while yet.
They're definitely going to have to change the way, in Pennsylvania, we don't have the liberal annexation laws like they did in Virginia or other states, so that has to be changed, but...
Well, that's what I mean. They should have been talking about them changes 20 years ago so that we could have had the change already, but...
First of all, I think there's more than 100,000 people still in Erie, but I will agree that we've lost population. That I will agree on.
Well, I'm a thinker, and I'm thinking ahead, and if everybody's worried that we're down into the 90,000 range, just think this way. In another 30 to 35 years, as the people down south start running out of water... flocking back north again to use that fresh water we have from the 5 Great Lakes, and we'll go up to 150,000 that way.
Do you remember the guy that called in a little while ago about bottled water?
Yeah.
Now, I was in Allentown. They're only on a river, okay? And some of the communities get theirs from mountain streams. They got a bottling plant that does water. And I'm thinking, here we're sitting on a lake. Unbelievable. And, California, they need new bottling plants because they can't bottle there no more. And that gentleman that called was right. And I'm thinking, why aren't we pushing, like Pepsi or Coke or whoever does the bottling of water, to come here?
Yeah, it doesn't take much time to think of something like that. I mean, that's a solid plan right there. But, you need the right people to bring it to fruition.
And if the fluoride's the issue, let's take the fluoride out and issue pills then to people or something.
Well, I can't believe we still have fluoride in the water with all the senior citizens we have.
Well, my wife is severely affected by that, and so are a lot of other people with various physical problems. I would have thought it'd been cheaper if you're really concerned about, let's say, children's health, right, their teeth, we could have gave out, vouchers or something to get fluoride pills.
Just have the kids take it as they need it that way, yes.
Yeah, my kids took fluoride pills because the dentist at the time, thought it was a good idea. And it does help young kids, but, when you get to our age and you got thyroid problems or other problems and issues, and it's not a good deal,
Well, it could harm some of us. Well, I'll give somebody else a chance to call in.
Well, I don't know if anybody else will. It's been kind of quiet, so I'm glad you called in.
Okay.
But if you got anything more to call back later if you like.
Okay, I'll see how many more telephone calls you get.
When you're off a week, sometimes they're not sure you're back again.
Right.
But I liked your ideas though, because I'm an advocate of metropolitan government a little bit more. I want to see it, come to fruition.
It's not my main hobby, but politics is one of my hobbies that I try to follow.
Well, you got some good ideas, though, and that's why, if it was up to me, and I'd like to see if council can maybe form a citizens committee about people that just brainstorm different ideas that will help us in new fines, new taxes, maybe too many taxes, or things they'd like to see,
Well, A lot of times that's all you need is just a bunch of people getting together like that and come up with some new ideas.
Yeah, the taxpayers can't keep hitting the burden. We got to find, these other ways of generating stuff.
Right. Okay, Cass.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, take care.
It's always a pleasure when you get people with solutions of problems. Many times people whoop, I think I cut them off. Let's try it again. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Cassie. Yeah. Hello, Cass.
Good, I can hear you. You were a little low there for a while.
Oh, well. Hey, on that last caller, I don't know about the bottling water from the lake. I think there's federal regulations on that because I remember correct back when the EPA was formed, they had some kind of restriction of selling the lake water to other communities or areas, particularly going to California. California or out to Arizona wanted us to develop a pipeline coming from the Great Lakes out there, and they wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, because I think we get our water anyway from the bay, if I remember right.
I think so.
But I think some
from the creeks, Walnut Creek in those areas, maybe they can do siphon water to turn into bottled water. That might be a possibility there.
But I think there are communities that take water out of the lake, I have to believe, further up the lake.
Okay, I'm not sure how that would work because, like you said, they certainly wouldn't be able to put the chemicals in it.
Where does Cleveland get their water from? Cuyahoga, or do they get it from the lake? That's an interesting question.
Just like I don't know how far their pipeline might go out. Ours goes out over, a mile into the lake.
Yeah, it was just amazing that, we should be able to get in on that market, though,
Yeah, I believe so. And
we had a brewery in this town, okay?
Yeah.
In fact, we had 2 breweries when I was a kid.
We should be able, with the plastic factories we have around here, we should be able to even make our own plastic bottles to pipe it in, or to maybe get a glass factory in here to make glass bottles. That seems to be the trend again, going back to...
right now we're our sewer is underutilized because Hammermill's gone, GE has cut back, They were using a lot more water in the old days.
That's for sure. What about, you talk about traffic lights like on Burton there now?
Yeah.
Could you find out if there's any restrictions for the city putting, say, 3 or 4-way stop signs, on those intersections? Sometimes I wonder if a 4-way stop is much more efficient than a traffic light, because that way everybody comes to a stop, and if somebody runs the stop sign, at least you're not trying to drive through as well.
Yeah, that's up to the, if we put a request in as council, if people ask for it, the traffic engineer will do a study on it and then report the findings, back to council.
Right.
And then by ordinance, we would put a sign there. They've been trying to, in some areas, to loosen up because you don't have the volume you did in the old days. Mm-hmm. So they've been taking out lights and stop signs a little bit. But Burton, when you get on a street like Burton, though, or East 38, those are state highways.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with the Commonwealth on those issues. You just, you have to work through them. And
I've been trying to do that with Old French Road here because there's a number of kids that cross Old French Road.
Yeah, and I think that's a state highway, if I remember right.
97.
Yeah, so, anything you do there has got to have their okay.
Well, I requested the study, and they supposedly the city engineers did something, but they didn't come up with any good ideas. Because really, when you go from 28th Street all the way to 36th Street, there's no stop signs.
Mm-hmm. Did you submit a request through a councilman or yourself?
Pardon?
Did you do it by yourself or through a councilman?
I did it by myself. I phoned in a request to have it looked at because I see the kids crossing. I know kids are crossing all the time here, and got to watch for traffic. And I even have a hard time crossing as a blind person sometimes. You got to wait a while for traffic to finally realize there's a blind guy trying to cross the traffic.
Yeah, streets like you live on, if there's not a lot of control on them, people tend to start zipping.
You do.
And I believe
stations when they had one of those speed cameras, guns, they had no one under 33 miles an hour going on a 25-mile-an-hour zone here, but they had them up to 60 miles an hour caught on a gun.
Yeah, they're talking about on the state level. We were told there's some legislation that they may allow local police forces to use these the guns, which are you don't have to. It's a lot easier to use them because you don't have to set up the lasers with these. What do you call it? You have to set them so far apart.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with you. It's just when you deal with the state and stuff. But if you think, some neighbors want a study done, they can always petition council and.
We have to do that. I mean, it's not so much always the cars, but even the motorcycles, when they leave the bar, they speed up quite a bit. The other thing that you brought up, the topic of merging with Mill Creek or so.
Well, not just the gentleman said we have too many communities, and there have been mergers across the Commonwealth. There was St. Mary's became a city when they merged with Benziger Township. You had, I think it was Girard, or was it Fair? I thought it was Girard that gave up their borough status or something, and they I think the borough and the township, joined together because it was kind of ludicrous to have two different streets departments and everything. And
I'm thinking back. I don't know if there's anything in the records of the city. I would encourage someone to search it because I wish I could with my eyesight, but I can't.
Yeah.
But at some point in time in the past, Erie continued to expand by absorbing some smaller communities such as Marvintown, and I think there was a Shieldsville that was absorbed into the city.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't remember, Doc. I mean, that was a long time ago. That was before you and I were around. But I don't know if the laws changed since then, or there's nothing that says like if another community wants to merge, if two get together, they can do that, okay? But you can't force the issue. Like in some states, Virginia, for example, they would literally sit there. The town of Richmond is an example. You want our water, then you merge with us.
Okay.
You want anything from us, you merge with us. And the state was very going along with that because if you look at the size of Richmond or Norfolk, they're huge. And like that gentleman brought up about Jacksonville, there are some states that actually encourage it and give the larger community more, for lack of a better term, ammunition.
Well, one thing it would probably do is definitely if we did something of that nature, it would take us out of the so-called rural environment. It would be more of a city again, as far as the state's concerned.
Well, they call us rural for the wrong reasons. Here's if you believe we're rural, right, Doc? Then why do we have to pay for 2 inspections on our car?
That's true.
If that's a mission, then they admit that we're an urban area with an emission problem, with pollution, right?
Right.
You don't get that in a farm town.
No.
So, that was what that was all about. Was they didn't want to fund some cities, so they started throwing some cities in the rural category. But that had nothing to do with, But Erie is kind of funny because once you leave Mill Creek, you're pretty much out into rural area.
Well, if we're still going to be rural, I'm going to start getting some chickens and cows.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what, the next time they call us rural, tell them you're not going to pay for admission.
Okay.
Because, that's for an urban area, so which one are we?
Well, I know. It's state and federal government. I don't know where the engineers get their degree from, but sometimes I think they don't realize what they're talking about sometimes.
Well, in that case, it was probably the financial wizards that said, we can cut money by declaring them rural, even though they're not. But, that didn't mean they cut the emissions controls, on the other end. So on one side we're a city and the other side we're rural. So I guess it just depends who wants it, if the money's going out or the money's coming in.
Well, hopefully that we get things straightened out here eventually. But I'm not going to try to tie up the line much here, but I just want to thank you for getting back on. And you're going to be on next Monday? It's the Monday after the 4th?
I'm trying to think now. You know what? I have to ask Mike, our engineer, before I go off the air. Because I'm not working down there. I think they're giving them... Are we off Monday? We're off Friday, so we will be... Okay. City Hall will be open next Monday.
Okay, so you'll be on then?
Yeah, we'll be on.
All right. Hey.
Yeah, I get a little lost now that I'm not down working inside City Hall anymore.
Okay, well, they do miss you,
Yeah, I miss it down here. It was for 12 years, it was a nice home.
Well, a home away from home, huh?
Well, you meet a lot of good people, and you like working with them,
And you had a lot of good people you worked with that came to see you when you were there.
I had a lot of people ask about you and Whitey Cleaver, so next time I see you.
Okay.
You'll remember something. I ran into him this weekend.
Well, one of the ladies passed away just past week.
Lillian Strand?
No, Laura Henning. She worked up at St. Vincent's.
Oh, yeah.
She started, I think, right around the time you left.
Yeah, and then I lost my longtime track coach, too. That was...
You remember Bernetta?
Yeah.
That's her sister.
Wow. Hey, you know what? We're getting old now.
Oh, don't mention it, man.
I try not to look down that lower left-hand column.
Well, I'm trying to not look in the mirror anymore, you know that.
Yeah, that lower, what they call death corner in the paper, I don't try not to look at that.
Well, I don't know if, when they're young, they form love handles. Now, when you get old, there's safety so you don't fall out of the chair.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, have a great day.
Yeah, and if give me a call if you have that issue with that road. We'll have a study done or something, Well,
no matter how you look at it, there's always a speeding going on here.
Yeah, and that gentleman, I agree with him. There is a problem with Burton. The only thing is, putting more lights in is probably not going to solve it, but...
The other thing, too, that the city of Erie doesn't have, like some cities do, any rules against jake braking, where the trucks start letting their transmission try to stop, and they go bop, 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 bop,
Yeah.
So we get that on this highway here, too. They do that. And that's not so bad during the day, but at night when you're trying to get some sleep, you hear that, and you don't know what's going on. Oh, well. Hey, life is life. As you say, we're getting old. We just have to put up with it, and maybe that's why the Lord takes our hearing sometimes when we get older.
Yeah, but I don't want to lose I can't listen to Led Zeppelin then.
Oh, okay.
Or Doors. What am I going to do?
Well, I'm still stuck with Lawrence Welk.
Yeah, that's okay, but, I'm not ready to go that far yet.
Well, I did have an opportunity when I was in Branson, Missouri to sing with the Lennon Sisters.
They're still around?
Experience.
They're still around?
Yeah, they were down there. I think they were doing some kind of a Christmas special, and as you know, I perform as Santa, so they had a couple of us Santas come up and sing with them in some kind of a TV presentation they were going to do.
Yeah.
I'm getting more and more TV'd, showing up on TV more and more often. So
that's okay. That can be a curse too, though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yep.
What you say and what you do, everybody sees it. So
that's true.
All right. Well, you have a good day and keep that fellow next to you entertained.
Okay. See you, Doc.
All right. Take care. Bye now.
Let's see. Where were we? Yeah, good. Phone call. There we go. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, guys. Something, putting all this money from the gasoline tax into roads. I will tell you one horrible road that's not in the city, but it's Iroquois Avenue between East Lake Road and Eagle.
Yeah, I've been on there.
I mean, right in front of the high school, right in front of the police, the state cops there. What the hell are they doing?
I haven't been on there lately. Is it in real bad shape?
There's craters, potholes. I'll tell you, there's like a water problem in front of Iroquois High School. That does not drain every time, it rains or and then, during, of course, the freeze and thaw. It's just horrible.
I begin to wonder, when you...
But, they patch it, the patch falls out. It's the worst.
Yeah, you travel around the state and you're finding out that, a lot of the bridges are bad and you wonder, what happened to all the money? Where's it...
Yeah, where's this money, Cass? We've been paying this tax for quite a while now.
Yep. What really disappointed me was at this conference we were talking about the governor's representative was there, and that issue is very hot about the Marcellus shale tax. Mm-hmm. And I'm in a quandary. I don't know how you feel about it, but why we're the only state, one or two that don't tax.
That's the rich people. That's the thing. They got the money. They can afford to, give up some tax.
But we're letting them drill into our infrastructure, taking out this oil or shale, and they're not charging them. Every other state's doing that. And, we got, like you say, we got crumbling roads. schools are in trouble, municipalities, and we're letting companies come in here, and they said they're afraid to, scare them. Hey, if they're here because they can make money, am I right or wrong?
Oh yeah, they got the money. They can afford to pay extra tax.
Yeah, we got to pay tax to buy gas, and they get to drill for free. And I'm going, something's wrong. But I agree with you. Some of the roads are, you begin to wonder.
We're trying.
Yeah, like the liquid fuels, we get a lot of, we don't.
Some of the roads fixed. They've been doing their stuff.
We go through the liquid fuel money like mad. It's you wonder where it's all going, but sometimes you see it out in the east more in Philadelphia. I think that's where a lot of the money ends up.
Hey, it's heading towards July already. I mean, they got to start. They got to get moving on some of these state roads. That's a state highway too, I believe.
Hey, you're quite. I think it is. It's like in the city, like 38th Street is one, Pine Avenue, and you start to see them deteriorate. They get pretty rough, and you wonder, when they're going to get to them. And you start traveling a lot of the bridges are over the place are falling apart. They're putting money into them again. It's just amazing. I don't know what happened.
Hey, another thing too, if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
And not necessarily with us, but I was listening to NPR. They were talking about the western droughts.
Yeah, in California?
Yeah, looking for water and all that. Now, they are getting so desperate, they are actually considering, and don't laugh, diverting water from the Mississippi and running it to Arizona, California, Nevada.
Oh, I don't find that funny because I...
Well, here's the other one. Here's one that's funny. They're talking about taking a chunk of iceberg from the Arctic.
And towing it?
And towing it down there. Seriously, Kaz, I heard on NPR.
It probably did some... would it last that far? That'd be interesting.
Well, probably would, but he's just dealing with it. I don't know.
The ones I heard, there were... do you remember a few years ago they talked about running a pipeline from Lake Erie to the south?
Yeah, that's...
But then the Canadians got into the argument because people forget that's part of their lake, too.
That's a touchy subject with the lakes, but I think the Mississippi...
Yeah, that's ours. But think what you're going to do. If you draw water out of there, you're going to affect the port of New Orleans. You're probably going to have, like St. Louis and all them that have river traffic. That'll be tricky, don't you think?
Yeah, but Kaz, you would have to do it at the right time. During the springtime, when they have an abundance of water in the Mississippi, that's when you open the valves.
I remember in the past, California had a fight. The northern part was fighting with the southern part. They wanted to secede because they were drawing water for San Diego, LA, and all that from up north, and they felt they were being misused up there. So this has been going on a long time, but...
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole Colorado River, that needs restudied, and they got to figure out what to do and who's getting the water. And...
Well, they admit the real problem is too much growth.
Yeah.
You're taking an infrastructure designed for X amount of people, and you had the, migration that went to LA and San Diego and all those areas, Southern California, and it can't support it. Not when you see some of these people there, even in the midst of all this, they're arguing whether they're more important than their neighbors because they pay more taxes so they can water their estates at the expense of others,
Yeah.
And so, if we're not careful as a country, we could have the same problems. Everybody's looking at the Great Lakes with probably, eyes too now. And so I think the Great Lakes is the third or fourth largest freshwater in the world? Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't laugh if they start pumping out of here someday.
Yeah. Well, I think if they get on this Mississippi, diverting the Mississippi, I think that would be a great, like a Roosevelt's public work project.
Oh yeah, that'll be a huge project.
Hubs to the country where it's needed and give water to where it's needed. I think it'd be a great idea, but
Just so it doesn't harm I'd be for it as long as it doesn't harm the Mississippi. As long as you don't ruin that thing.
Well, like I said, Kaz, just if you do it, open the valves at the right time when they have an abundance of water, just like in the springtime.
Yeah, I agree with you if you can do it.
Because it all floods Iowa and Indiana and.
You're right. That'll be like a WPA project we haven't seen the likes of since they built the Hoover Dam and all those. In the Tennessee Valley project.
Yes.
That'll be huge. I mean, it'll put people back to work possibly.
Well, I just hope they consider it. I mean, but government is just so slow to react to stuff.
I know part of the problem is we're in a war economy right now.
Yeah.
And when Roosevelt did a lot of that stuff, we were pre-war and post-war, between 1 and 2, and so there was, that really jump kicked a lot of the country.
Yes.
Even though they ruled some of those programs illegal, you can never debate whether the positive things that came out of that. We built public buildings, stadiums, projects, cleared woods, forest areas, built roads. Put a lot of people to work.
Yep. Okay, Kaz, I'll let you go.
Hey, you had some good ideas there, and I'll watch, with a little more interest now what they have planned for, Mississippi and other places.
Yep. Okay.
Hey, thank you for calling. Now, there's an interesting concept, and I can remember, I think I read about it 10, 15 years ago. They were talking about actually diverting water out of Lake Erie to parched areas, and that was met with a lot of consternation from the Canadians. Go ahead, caller.
You said you were a kid. There were 2 breweries.
Yeah, there were. Wayne was still open.
Wayne wasn't functioning.
Yes, it was.
I was a kid and Wayne wasn't functioning.
Wait, when did Wayne go out of business?
When did they go out of business?
Yeah.
Probably about 1956.
What? John?
Yes.
That's in my time.
Well, it was my time too.
I wasn't a legal drinker, but I remember my dad ordering a Wayne.
Yeah, but he was probably getting it from somewhere else.
What do you mean?
Not from the Wayne Brewery. I think Kohler picked up some of their label for a while.
Well, when did the plant on Parade Street go out of business? 56?
Let's see. I want to say in that area.
Well, look, I lived on...
My buddy bought the building when he had his asbestos shop there.
Where? What building?
The Wayne Brewery.
The big one?
The one on Parade Street.
Well, the only thing that's left is St. Martin's Center, right?
But right next door was Graham Asbestos, where the brewery was.
Oh, wait a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong. The St. Martin's Center was the office, right?
Yes.
And across the street, that was the keg house, correct?
Yes.
And that's, what's that, a chicken house or?
Well.
It was, wasn't it?
Some poultry joint.
Yeah, and there's a tunnel underneath the ground, right?
Yeah.
Now, on the back field, isn't that where the brewery was?
I don't recall that.
So the old timers told me that's where the brewery was.
Where all the kegs and everything were. It was in my buddy's basement because they were still down there. The old wooden kegs.
Wasn't it? You have to show me something. Is that building still around?
No, they tore that down. They put that little convenience joint up there now.
Okay, I thought the
Wayne Brewery, and in fact downstairs they had the old sawhorses like they did for wine barrels.
Yeah.
That's how they had their kegs of beer.
But I mean, I remember my dad. You could still buy when I lived on Huron Street. People were still drinking Wayne or Kohler.
Well, they're probably drinking Yacht Club, thinking it was coming from Wayne Brewery. Did you ever have Yacht Club?
Yeah, was that a Wayne beer thing?
Well, that was Kohler's end of the run too. They had old pubs and Yacht Club.
But was that originally Wayne or what?
No, I don't believe it was. But
I have a bottle of Wayne at home, John.
Do you?
Yeah, fully capped, and no one has taken me up on the offer to drink it.
Well,
I don't think anybody would want to.
If you kept it at the right temperature. I got a bottle of Dom Perignon that's way back when, too.
Oh, this bottle of beer, John, is definitely not drinkable.
It's like my homemade beer.
No, I got it from somebody. It was amazing. Somebody had it in their basement. It's got a lot of sediment in it, but it's bottled,
He probably took it out of a casket down at Anthony Wayne's blockhouse.
Probably.
Hey, I was listening to a lot of these conversations. Boy, there's a whole slew of things. If I'd be up there with you, I'd have my notebook going. And
I keep telling you, John, you're welcome. I could have used you today. I was starting to babble amongst myself.
Well, I see that the city is finally going, or I should say, Mr. Zimmerman is finally going after Mr. Ferraro on 12th Street.
Is that the guy that owns the factory?
The gas station there.
Oh, the one. Oh, I know. Okay.
Northwest corner.
I thought you meant the factory out in 12th on the east side.
No.
But the gas station, yeah. Well, that's been discussed since Jimmy Thompson was in council.
I think what they should do is tear that down and build a townhouse.
Well, whatever they do, John. I remember I went through there one time, and there was literally like vines growing through cars.
Well, it's the same thing. Even if you go up the alleyway where who is it? Hagen has his office.
Yeah.
And right next door, they're knocking all that stuff down. And
why aren't this bugs me, and I'm blaming. It's not council's job.
No.
We need to send out. We need to be a little more aggressive.
That's true. And how can you be aggressive if the fifth floor isn't helping you be aggressive?
Here's the thing. You got that place sitting there, and you were intending to build $100,000 condos?
Yeah.
Kitty corner to that?
Yeah.
Or you're sitting there in Arby's having your sandwich and looking at that crap.
You see that there? Then you see the empty condos up the street.
Hey, then you come in from the airport, right?
Yeah.
You're an out-of-towner. Think of that.
Well, just
and what do you see?
Street.
Yeah, what do you see? You see stuff like that, and what's your first impression of Erie?
So what? So it's the impression like Buffalo is now.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm going... for years we've battered. That's been turned in over and over. I even turned it in when I was controller.
Well, everything is being turned in, but there's no teeth.
Well, you know what?
And that is city council's fault. That's the mayor's fault. That's the solicitor's fault. You've got to put some teeth in these ordinances and enforce them.
Well, we got teeth, but nobody does anything. We got an ordinance. I'll give you an example. A guy called me about 3 weeks before I went on the road this week, and he had a problem with an alleyway, okay?
Yeah.
And there's a clear-cut ordinance. John, anybody can read and say it's pretty evident what it's written. It just says, no parking.
Areas, right?
Yeah, no parking, no standing, something like that. And we actually had people that disagreed with him. And he's going, well, they're saying it's an outdated ordinance, or it's just, hey.
If an ordinance is on the book, how could it be outdated?
Right. Council makes the laws. We don't enforce them, okay? That's what the administrative branch and the police are supposed to do.
That's right.
So
That's what your solicitors are there.
Yeah, we can write all the ordinances in the world. And some of them, I'll give you some are debatable, but, maybe a little wordy in the wrong way. But
they're in the gray shade.
Yeah, if they say no parking in front of a fire hydrant, how do you debate that? If it says no parking in an alleyway, how do you debate that?
You don't.
Those are,
And then if that doesn't work, you go to district court.
Yeah, but, that's what bugs me when, we put up with a lot of crap in this town.
I was just on the Lower East Side this morning here. I had to go by the Anna shelter, drop off some things. And I was coming across 10th Street, and there's a set of tracks going the farthest to the east, and I don't think it's ever been used. Why are they still there?
10th Street?
Yes. Down towards Franklin Avenue, not up by Downing.
I don't know. Is it possible it's a spur for anybody?
I don't think so. The grass over there was 5 feet tall, where the tracks went.
Kind of reminds you of the ones used to crisscross 12th Street, remember?
Yeah.
Until they finally took them out?
Well, yeah, and they still have the one that goes to the back door to the old hammer mill property.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they bring in waste and dump it into that valve there over to the treatment plant.
There used to be some in the Salvation Army parking lot.
Yes.
From the old sidings, remember?
Yes. But let's go to another subject real quick.
Go ahead.
The non-profits.
Oh, there we go.
Now, the non-profits, their directors make money?
Sure.
Why do they pay them if they're non-profit? Why do they give the directors that kind of money? Why don't they pay taxes and just get somebody that comes in and volunteer to be a director?
Here, see, the government, when they do the tax laws...
Something for somebody, you're declared a non-profit, and they got to give you a salary.
Well, the money has to be... The way it worded is you make a profit. Some places do. I mean, it's evident. Like a hospital. Does a hospital... Sure, they make money. You know, but what they do is... They
give services.
That's why you see them buy a...
But these other non-profits...
But then look how much they make, John.
You got the coalition down on 10th Street by Jim's old shop. I don't know what it is. What's his name? Gonzalez is the CEO. He used to be councilman. David Gonzalez, I think.
They all, you know. Hey, think of our authorities. They're non-profit, right?
Yes.
But you know, you ever see any of those? You got directors making more than the mayor.
That's true. And then you've got people pulling out of town. Look at Zern. They're taking their corporate office out.
Yeah.
How much money are we going to lose on that? Then you got Jake Rouse saying, "Oh, that's the time."
Hey, the college is non-profit. Yet, what's the president get?
Yeah. Look what the president of Edinburgh gets. Look what they all get.
Well, yeah, they just hire more staff, or they buy a football field, or they build something, or all they do is they keep reinvesting the money. You know.
That's true. Well, I was down to the district justice last week, and this home up here on Fargo, 4208, going to be taken care of.
It is?
Yeah, the gentleman had 7 citations from the Commonwealth written against him, and each citation up to the 3rd citation was $1,000. Then after that, it's $5,000, and the next citation will be July. And the district justice recused himself and told him to take it down to common plea court.
Did the city have any things against him?
No, the city didn't have it, but it could be along the line if it doesn't go well. But I think this gentleman's going to take that down real quick.
Well, they should if they're not, you know.
Well, it's an eyesore, just like your eyesore across the street from your house.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's all boarded up, but still, you don't know who's banging and going in there.
No, that's the trouble, you know. And it's not good for a neighborhood when you want people to move in and they look at that. And
it, again, is your code enforcement. Just like you were praising Mr. Vendetti for the wonderful job he had cutting down.
Oh, no, all I said was, at least it's a start. That's better than we got out of him in the past.
If you go back down there again, it's grown about 18 inches.
I want to find out what happened to the
house?
Well, no, there's a project that he was supposed to do there.
Well, city council gave him the okay to do that. It was supposed to be a box store or something?
I think it was going to be a chiropractor's office and something else.
But,
that was like 2 years ago. Well, that was my first year on council.
That's true, and of course there's the car wash up the street. You're down next door to it.
Yeah.
So, but one more quick subject.
Go ahead. You'll be the last one then, because we're going to be heading off.
You were talking about liquid fuels.
Some gentleman asked about it, yes.
Because he doesn't see the improvement in the roads, and I don't either, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you're taking liquid fuel money and using it where it's not supposed to be.
Well, now, we debated that, John.
I know that, but still, if liquid fuels comes in and it went mainly for road repair and not other general bills, whatever, I think we'd get a little head start up on this, don't you think?
They don't put all the money into the streetlights. A majority of it, it's one way or the other, John. Either you're going to pay your streetlights and taxes, or you're going to pay your roads and taxes.
You don't have to talk about streetlights when those streetlights on 38th and State, all the way down to Canavino Way, were on for almost 2 weeks solid, 24. Did you know that?
Which one's on 38th Street?
Yes, the old ornamental ones. That's taken care of now.
Okay.
I got a hold of Kelly and asked her what was going on. You know the sad part about this?
Because we do have a couple of young men now that are in charge of that.
Yes.
So you can, call the traffic engineer.
Well, the whole thing there is it was 3 weeks before they were dressed. But that's all right, because I might get a raise in my pension.
You from where?
From Penelec.
Really?
For sure. I mean, you keep using all that electricity, I may get a raise.
John, that's a nefarious side of you.
Oh, whose fault's that?
Nothing. That's not wrong. I mean, I know what you're coming with.
City's fault.
But call it. You know, I tell people when I was a controller.
I think I got a hold of Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly. Leanne, you mean?
No, from the electrical division above there.
Okay, because
Kelly Myers or.
Yeah, because we have people that are on that now that are taking care of that. So if it's not, you know, we'll jump on Penlec a little bit.
I think her extension is 1369. It rings the bell in my head yet.
Okay.
But hey, what can we say? We're out there trying, and the whole thing. Now, one more quick thing before I get out of here. Let somebody else come in and say, "Yeah, I've been on the phone too long."
Okay. Well, we're actually going off the air, so you're the last caller.
Why does the city have to pay up to $10,000 to negotiate a fire contract?
You mean with an independent company?
Yes. I mean, we have 5 solicitors upstairs. Mm-hmm. How many contract negotiations have they been through? All 5 of them.
I think in the past they felt that our solicitors weren't experienced enough, and
they ought to be experienced now. How long has Joe been in office?
Well, you change your solicitors, but it's not unusual. For instance,
been changed, and
you're talking about why they use Knox Law Firm.
Yeah.
And Knox Law Firm has a division
that strictly negotiates.
Mm-hmm, and they're very good at it. I know the attorneys.
There's the fire department, the police department, the Teamsters.
Well, I think in the past the citizens and the administration, including council, felt like the negotiations weren't productive. They were too one-sided. And I think there's a feeling now that even though it costs a little bit, that in the long run, the negotiations are being handled a little better.
Well, everybody thinks the negotiations are one-sided.
Mm-hmm. Well, they are.
Why they call them negotiations.
It's interesting. When I have time next show, I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that came out of the conference about.
Bringing up the League of Cities.
Yeah, they were talking about reform on pension, negotiations, all that stuff.
And, you know, they talk about pensions in the 401k. That's great, but most outfits they give a matching amount up to so much for a 401k. If you put in 20%, the city might put in 10%. Your maximum might be 10% of your salary.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Right now, the city is responsible. Let's say the fund does not do well, okay?
Yeah, they're responsible to make up what they lost.
Remember this, the fund was 35% funded, and I'll not mention names, when a legendary mayor was in charge, okay?
Uh-huh.
Now, when I left office, the pension fund as a whole was just short of 80, all right?
True.
So it's been a slow grind, and that includes the minor recession, the Great Recession, the minor depression, the 9/11, all that, okay?
But you had a good firm representing you and taking the money and investing it well.
I really give credit to the board, which is employees mostly.
Yes.
They've been very diligent, and now we have new advisor and everything. But if because the fund is mildly distressed, because we're not fully funded, over the years, you have what you call, as you progress, okay, you may be making money, but you still have to finance the old money that you lost.
True.
Because you got to pay out every month to retirees.
Well, that's why you have to diversify.
Right, but I'm saying those costs are such that every year, before the mayor even blinks an eye,
it costs so much money.
We're looking at a $10 million shortfall, let's say.
True.
He's got to put that into the budget, all right?
Right.
So what you hope is that if they do switch to 401s or whatever they're going to do,
true,
then see there's no longer a shortfall.
But see, that's what hurts when you go to negotiate contracts, if you go to an arbitrator, because they say you got X amount of money, and this way they figure you should be able to give the unions what they want.
But what we learned was if they go to these new plans, okay, you're going to put money in, and the city's probably going to give you a little match, okay?
True.
But in the long run, it's going to be cheaper than funding, like...
Totally, I get you.
Right now, a pension is based on X amount of dollars every month for the rest of your life.
True.
If you go to the one they're talking about, you got a 401 or whatever you got there, your IRA, and you're looking at a lump sum of money.
What you have in there yourself.
And that's going to have to last you. It's not guaranteed. In other words, you're guaranteed that money, and you hope that the market is heading up, so that you replace the money that you pull out a little bit, because at some point you're going to zero out.
True.
But you never zero out with the fund we have now.
That's right.
But that's what they're talking about, reform, and they're also saying that there may not be any more negotiations with pensions. That won't be an arbitratable item.
One last thing before Mike sticks a pin in your doll.
Okay.
We got to change the route sign in the city of Erie.
Which one?
The 25 route sign throughout the whole city.
You mean the speed limit sign?
Yeah, that's the route sign, isn't it? There's no speed in the city of Erie.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about.
Have a great day.
No, that left a long time ago. Try 38th Street, John.
Oh, my God, it's unbelievable.
The only difference between that and Pitta drag strip is Pitta only lasts a quarter mile.
Yeah. Lucky he knows that 38th Street is longer than his drag strip, right?
There you go.
Have a good one.
Hey, and thank you all for, we got the high sign. We have to leave the air. So we'll see you again here next Monday.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9.